Hi, I'm Wayne Alaroot for Personal Liberty. I don't mean to say I told you so, but I told you so. I was the first political commentary in the country with the courage to predict a GOP landslide in Tuesday's election. I described the predicted GOP landslide as massive and historic. I made the prediction not only here at Personal Liberty, but for weeks now when no one else was willing to make that prediction on hundreds of radio stations, American TV, Canadian TV, and at Fox News. Tuesday's results literally define massive and historic. The GOP needed to win 6 U.S. Senate seats. It looks like they've won a remarkable 9 with a comfortable lead in Alaska and a projected win in the December Louisiana runoff. The 12 House seats won by the GOP now expands the GOP majority to historic levels, the most since World War II. But there are more highlights. The GOP destroyed Jimmy Carter's grandson in Georgia's governor's race. That made me happy. Governor Scott Walker was reelected in Wisconsin despite tens of millions spent by unions across the country. Go get him, Scott. The GOP elected governors in deep, deep blue states like Illinois, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Obama himself campaigned for the Democratic governor candidate Anthony Brown in Maryland. The man that some in the media called Mini Obama went down to a stunning defeat. Michelle Obama campaigned for Senator Mark Pryor in Arkansas. He lost big time in the same state where he won 79% of the vote only 6 years ago. Could it be Michelle? Hillary and Bill campaigned all over the country, and every candidate but one that they supported lost big. And the defeat of a Democratic governor in the president's home state of Illinois hasn't happened since 1892. When I predicted massive and historic, I might have understated the results. So what happened? How did I know what was about to transpire? This was a total rejection, repudiation, and condemnation of everything Obama believes in. This was middle-class America telling Obama to shove it where the sun don't shine. I wrote the national bestseller, The Murder of the Middle Class, pointing out what Obama and his socialist cabal were doing to America, capitalism, and the great American middle class. What we all just witnessed was a middle-class uprising. This was the revenge of the middle class and a great use of the middle finger. What woke the sleeping giant? What caused the middle class to rise up against Obama? In my previous commentaries, I explained that the root of Obama's Election Day debacle would be the Obama lies about the economy and the twin disasters of Obamacare and Ebola. Let's start with the economy. Obama constantly repeats the lie that the economy is improving and we are in recovery. But middle-class America knows otherwise. The election results prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, middle-class voters are no longer buying Obama's lies or the government's manipulated economic statistics. In exit polls, 70% of the voters said the economy is bad versus 30% that called it improving. Then there's the centerpiece of this middle-class economic disaster known as Obamacare. Millions of Americans have either seen their health insurance canceled or gotten dramatic premium price increases. These were the angry, intense, motivated voters of the 2014 midterm elections. This is why I made my prediction. This was a vote to gain revenge on the man who promised, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep it, and your prices won't go up. All lies. Then there's Ebola. Obama's response to this pandemic or potential pandemic has ranged from incompetent to downright dangerous. Look no further than the new Ebola czar, who has no medical background and who has never been seen again since the day his appointment was announced. Maybe he's in quarantine. Ebola made it clear to angry middle-class Americans that our president is not keeping our children safe at night. I always believed Ebola was simply the straw that broke the camel's back. Ebola may so far have only killed one person in America, but it just killed the entire Democratic Party. Now throw in our open southern border, Obama's failure to foresee the rise of ISIS, his lack of a coherent strategy to fight ISIS, and this jobless economy, and anyone but a Washington, D.C. insider can clearly see a Democratic Party disaster in Tuesday's election. But the reality is elections aren't won or lost based on issues. Elections are won based on the ground game. It's not who supports a candidate or a party that matters. It's who brings the most voters to the polls. Get out the vote. Back in 2012, Obama put together the most sophisticated ground game to get out the Democratic vote in the history of politics. The GOP failed miserably at the same ground game. The GOP actually had no ground game. Their new get-out-the-vote system, called ORCA, bombed on the morning of the national election, meaning the GOP never turned out a single vote. There was no get-out-the-vote. Did the media ever tell you that? No. The failure of the GOP vote tracking system changed the outcome of the entire presidential election. Having no idea if your most loyal voters have gone to the polls or not is like flying a plane blind. Fast forward to today. Two crucial political developments have changed in favor of the GOP. These are the two concrete reasons for the GOP landslide, aside from issues like the economy, Ebola, and Obamacare. First, the GOP is now for the first time effectively competing with the Obama machine in the ground game. The GOP turnout the vote machine was so effective this time around that the GOP actually pulled even with Democrats or led in early voting in places all over the country where Republicans often lose by large percentages. This is very good news. As a matter of fact, it's never happened before. Republicans always lose the early voting, then desperately try to play catch-up on Election Day. No more. We've reversed the tables. Second, there are now voter ID laws in place in 15 states where none existed in 2012 and in 22 states where none existed in 2010. Not only are Democrats great at getting out the vote, they're even better at getting out fraudulent voters and illegal immigrant voters. Voter ID prevents election fraud. That's very bad news for Obama and his allies moving forward. Because if they can't steal elections and they can't cheat, they'll have a very hard time winning elections, and 2014 is the proof. Tuesday's massive and historic GOP landslide will usher in a dramatic rebuke to President Obama and a dramatic change in the political power in Washington, D.C. The question is, what will the GOP do with it? The answers to that question will determine the future of the Republican Party, American politics, and America itself. And I've got lots to say about it. I'll tell you about it in next week's commentary. There's so much to do. Let's get to work. I'm Wayne Allen Root for Personal Liberty. But let's all first celebrate for a few days. You got to celebrate what just happened. This is a great day. This is morning in America. This is at least a chance, a window of opportunity to save America. If America is savable, we have a window now, a short one. Let's see what the GOP can do. Let's celebrate because we deserve it, you deserve it, I deserve it. See you next week. God bless America.